Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder, it is time to have a look at some new authentic decals which are going to be available for the next few weeks. Basically from the 18th of October, so today, to the 7th of November, you can get your hands on 6 separate decals. And this time, there's an actually really interesting theme. They all are kind of spooky or Halloween themed. You can see here that we have the emblem of the 93rd Panzer Battalion of the Bundeswehr, the bat emblem of the 7th Anti-Aircraft Artillery Regiment, the Bison personal emblem of the 7th Battalion of the French Armoured Forces, the Corsair emblem of the Flotille 14F French Aeronaval, the emblem of the 237th Squadriglia of the 96th Gruppo, and that is Italian, and then of course the emblem Super Slick of the 336th Assault Helicopter Company Soc Trang in Vietnam 1969. You can see that they all have a basic spooky theme, whether it be the pirated skull, the bat, or this devil here holding this bomb, which to me I think is one of the more interesting ones in the list. The actual 200 GE one, in my opinion, is not the best out of all of these. I actually think this one is the little demon bomber. I think is actually really nice to see. So these actually have attached to them some quite well, normally a lot of the decals have quite simple things to do. These are a little bit harder this time, which is good. You know, it's good to have a bit more of a challenge, especially since it's going to be running for around about 2 weeks. You don't want something that can be done in about a day. The fact is, when it came to the decals last time, which were going around the time of the start of Operation Shipyard, I was able to grind out all of the decals in about a day and a half. And for content which is supposed to last about 2 weeks, you don't really want that, you know. You do want it to be easily gettable for people, but at the same time, you want it to last a little bit longer, so you can't just, you know, do it in about 1 or 2 days and then take off the rest of the time. You want it to, you know, go ahead. And this time I think they've definitely nailed it. The only thing that is missing, in my opinion, is there's no naval decals here. There is stuff for helicopters, for airplanes, for ground, but no naval stuff. So it would have been nice to see a naval thing. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So let's have a look at where you can see them in game. You can have a look at them by going to the Achievements tab, decals, and of course week's latest. They'll be at the top here for you. And then if you want to just go to the decals tab and the week's latest, you can find them here. On top of this as well, you can set them to your favorites bar, which is this button right here, your favorited achievements, so you can track the progress as you're going along. And just last but not least, if you want to see them over in the actual place where the decals are, you can find them under the week's latest at the bottom right here. Now, the one which is 200 GE is the Corsair emblem. You can't research this. You have to buy it for 200 GE. And if you want to see what it looks like, I've actually put it on my Chinese P51. So you can see it right there. You can see that it's a nice little emblem, very much can be used to cover other insignia if you feel like. I think personally I do like this one. It's very high quality. The black, red and yellow colors always work really well together, especially in high contrast, which we can see here, and therefore I'm happy to see this wonderful little decal on this plane. So yeah, if you want it, that is what it looks like. The next one is the emblem of the 93rd Panzer Battalion. Now remember, in order to get these decals, you have to use vehicles from rank 2 to 7, and they all have unique ideas to them. So for the emblem of the 93rd Panzer Battalion, you have to win 4 missions and be first in those missions. Now this is normally the hardest of the types of challenges that you need for these decals, and I don't think I think this one is, you know, the hardest out of them, because placing first in the team, you know, you can have strategies which get you to first. The issue is winning the battle as well, so you have to have a positive impact on your team and also come first, so you have to pick up a lineup which can do both. Now the lineups which I generally go for are the 6-7 lineup, but nowadays you can't really do that, or at least I feel uncomfortable promoting it, because of the fact that the main components of it, the Panther 2 and also the Flak Panzer the Coelian, are now technically hidden. So we're not going to go for that one. We're instead going to go for the 5-7 premium lineup, which is the Panzer Befehlswagen and the Ersatz. You could also throw in the Furry Tiger if you felt like it, if you have that machine, or the VFW if you have that either, or the VK4501 to create an all-gold lineup. But once again, we're going to be having a look at other lineups which aren't, you know, full of premiums. So the first lineup we're going to look at is the 401. The reason, maybe not the 401. Let's go for the Puma one, which is right here. So the fact is, the lower the BR you go, the easier it is to get first places, and it's also the easier to get you to have much more of an impact on the game. There will be a lot of games where you get, you know, 2 to 10 to maybe even 15 kills and still lose the match at lower tiers because people respawn so much. But because people respawn so much, it means that you can also get as much score. You know, your ability to get mission score is a lot higher in those matches than it is against, you know, other targets when it comes to high tiers. A lot of people will die once or die twice at high tiers and then leave the battle, whereas low tiers, people will just keep spawning to, you know, keep enjoying the game. So you normally want to target a low tier area to be able to do these challenges, just because you'll generally go up against lower experienced players, and also at the same time you will you'll have a bit more fun doing it. So at 2.7 you have the Puma, which is the SDKFC 2342. The Puma itself has access to scouting and also a lot of speed, a very good gun for its BR in the form of the 50mm, and at 2.7 you can run it with some absolutely disgraceful German aircraft, which will be the general selling point of what we're doing today. So the fact is, recently the BF-110C6 was given out. Well, it wasn't given out, you had to earn it in Operation Heat. Right now I believe it's less than $5 on the Gaijin market, and if you don't have this machine, I would highly recommend picking it up. The C6 has access to a 30mm MK101, which has very similar properties to the MK103, and it even has a full HVAP belt. What this means is you can spawn in your Puma, you can cap a zone, you can get some scouts, you can maybe get a few kills, and then straight after, once you die, you flip over to the BF-110C6, where in a plane you have more chance to be able to get mission score than you do in tanks, unless you're in a very heavily armed vehicle. So it is just much better to quickly get in a armored car, get a cap in, get a kill, maybe use your smoke, definitely use your artillery and also your scouting. But once you die, which will eventually happen because you're going to be playing hyper-aggressive, you hop into either the BF-110C6, or if you don't have that, you can hop into the BF-110C7 with its bombs, or something like a Ju-87, or if you want to go the fighter route and play, you know, top cover, you go into something like a BF-109F1, because you want to try and keep the BRs as low as possible, and the highest BR we're going to go is 3.0. With this, or you can go in something like an E4, and as I said, you can play top cover by dominating in the air. The most points you can get out of killing things is always going to be an airplane versus an airplane, so if you want to focus on that, you know, you can do, and by killing a lot of enemies, whether it's by ground pounding using something like the BF-110s, or whether it's by keeping the air clean with something like a BF-109E4, you are going to be able to do that, you know, pretty effectively, and also get mission score while doing it. Just make sure at the end you J out of your plane and get back into a tank while you are in first place. The other thing you can do is if you're not comfortable with doing something like that, you can go a bit higher tiers and run something like a Tiger 2H, as we've talked about before. Very, very powerful vehicle, and can tank a lot of shots, which is pretty much what you are trying to do to get some score. Also the 5.7 or the 5.3 lineup that you can take, which is very popular when it comes to Germany. The Tiger H1, of course. Then you can run the Panthers if you feel like a 5.7, or the Tiger E. All of these are great lineups, but the main thing you should understand is these lineups should be designed around getting yourself into a plane and being able to get mission score that way. And once you've done that, then you can focus on winning the mission. The next one is, this one's an interesting one. So when you read this, it just says destroy 30 or 15 for RB and SB enemy player controlled vehicles while driving Japanese ground vehicles, or purchase for 200 GE. So, and also it says here, play 5 battles and finish in first place. So this is just wrong, at least compared to what it says here. You actually have to win 4 battles instead of just play 5 battles. And then this one, it just says destroy enemy player controlled vehicles. That's also technically wrong. So it wants you to play Japan, that's true, but it wants you to destroy only air vehicles. So you have to defeat 30 air vehicles while you are playing ground vehicles in Japan. So you have to shoot down helicopters, you have to shoot down airplanes with SPAA or with, roof-mounted 50 cals. So this is a lot harder than it might first seem, because you think 30 kills, okay, well that's 15 kills. That's very easy to do in my ground vehicles. I'll probably do that in, let's say, 5 matches, maybe 6 matches. But the problem is, now we've got a scenario where we can only shoot down aircraft, and if you're if you're a person who doesn't have the top echelons like the Type 87, your AA options are incredibly limited for Japan. You got the Soki, the Tarsi, and the M42. That's it. So shooting down aircraft in ground vehicles is actually going to be quite hard. And it is only 15 in realistic, but what I would actually do is I would recommend actually playing, I would recommend playing arcade and running a lineup like this. So what you do is you run the Tarsi, you run the M42, and you run the Soki, and you kind of just sit there and wait in battles for people to pop into planes, and then obviously you start off with the M42 and just use this as an opportunity to be able to get these things spaded out and just to shoot at aircraft. So don't even think about, the tank battle that's going along. Make sure, maybe get a book out, maybe listen to some YouTube videos, and when you see that little thing at the bottom pop in Tank Arcade where it says, planes are coming, make sure that you know where they're coming from, make sure that you target them and use the lead indicator to shoot them down. This, to me, would be the most efficient way of doing the Bat 1, because all you have to do, a lot of people in arcade in planes, what they'll do is they'll hit the ground, right? They'll after getting their bombs off or after doing whatever, they'll just hit the ground. So as long as you just get a hit on them, then you can get an aircraft destroyed, even though you technically haven't done anything to them. So the 30 kills will rack up really quickly if you do that method. If you want to struggle through it in Tank Realistic and use these 3 very subpar AA, or if you have access to the Type 87, just take that out a few times and you'll be able to deal with targets. But if you don't have that, then you can muddle through at whatever BR you feel like with these 3 vehicles. It just won't be very fun, and it won't be very easy to do, because a lot of the time you're going to come up against vehicles where you're not combat effective, so you're not going to have fun in it. It also means that I don't think you can bring in like a Type 60 and then get into like a kicker and annihilate air vehicles. I'm not sure that's how that works. It only says ground vehicles. Also, if you want to play stuff like the STAs, and in the meantime, the A1 does have a nice 50 cal on the top, which does do a lot of damage to planes. So does the Type 61, so you could use that to your advantage, and so does the STB. So just make sure to watch out for planes, but the method I talked about with the arcade is probably the way to go. The next one is the Bison. So we have to play French, rank 2 to 7, once again, ground. and you have to get missions played 5, mission score 2000. So we don't have to win, we just have to get 2000 score. And nowadays, especially with a lot of the lineups that are available in ground, that isn't exactly an insurmountable task. You're talking about 3 to 4, maybe 5 kills with some caps, maybe a little bit less with aircraft. So I'm not actually too worried about getting 2000 in missions played nowadays. So here's the general tactic. You can go higher BRs if you feel like. France has a lot of very strong lineups. You can go the 6-7 lineup, the Char 25T, AMX M4, the F8F1B, and also the F4U7. You can do something like that. You can go a little bit higher if you feel like. Get the F84G involved at 7-7, and bring along some of the big fish like the AMX 30 and the Foch if you really feel like it. Or you could go 8-0, with the DCA, the Surbassé, and also maybe even 8-7 with the Hot. So you could do all of these things. It is possible to be able to do this. But for me, I think the easiest way to do it is going back to rank 2 with the B1 BIS, and if you have the B1 Tur, the B1 Tur as well. The B1 BIS, at its BR of 2.0, is a very powerful vehicle. When you look at its frontal armor is incredibly good, and also because of the way that the crew is spaced out, it's very hard to one-shot this machine, and therefore you will always get a shot back at an enemy which you are hitting. The main thing that you are trying to do in the B1 BIS is set it up so you as an individual are able to get enough score on the board to spawn in one of these aircraft. Now, one thing to understand is the M406 is a 1.0, it's a rank 1 plane, whereas the 410 is a rank 2. So it doesn't matter what vehicles you use during the battle, it matters what you end in. So as long as you end in a rank 2, which you can set up with the AMC 35 or the SAL 40, then you should be fine. So yeah, so get in the B1 BIS, do as much damage as you can. You should be able to do a decent amount of damage with this. It only really has a few counters, this. The autocannons are generally quite good unless you angle. You can easily, stop the autocannons for really doing anything against you. On top of this, stuff like the Stuart is very good against this machine, so you got to watch out for them. And also, covering your turret ring is a necessity, so if you've got bushes, make sure to stick them on. So, you go into battle, you maybe get some caps, you get hit a lot, and hopefully that will give you the majority of the points that you require in this machine, and then what you do is you play an air superiority role with the MS-410. Unfortunately, the French do not have that strong vehicles at 2.0 when it comes to aircraft, so you can't really bring along any of their bombers. So instead, what you do is just bring along the MS-410, and you use the 7.5s as an air superiority measure against other planes, and then you bring along the ground targets or the stealth belts for the 20mm. I'd probably think the ground targets is the way to go, and with 26mm of penetration, you should actually be able to kill a decent amount of things. So what you do is, you get beaten up in the B1 BIS, you beat people up. Once you die, you go MS-410, play the air superiority role, shoot down a few aircraft, and just make sure by the end of the battle, when, it doesn't matter who wins, remember, you only care about missions played. So whoever's going to win, just make sure to swap back into something like a SAL 40 or an AMC 35, and then you'll get your, one of your missions played. The next one is the Super Slick emblem. Now, this is a simple one. It's players defeated, 40. Remember, it's only 20 in RB as well. And all you have to do is play helicopters of the US. So this is a simple one. You just get kills. So pick any helicopter you feel like. Obviously, the better ones, like the H-1Z, are going to be better picks than the lower ones. The H-34 is quite fun right now. I tried it in a few battles. It's incredibly slow when it comes to actually, killing things. What I mean by that is, you fire a shot, you kill something, you have to land, then you get up, you have to fire a shot, land, you know, all that stuff. It takes a long period of time, but you'll eventually get, you know, those 20 kills that you need in realistic. But yeah, just pick your helicopter, have some fun, and you don't really have to do anything else. Just make sure that it's American. It's one of those things that will come with time. The last one is the Bomb Demon. So you have to use Air Vehicles Italy, and you have to do base bombing. So the way to do these ones, the base bombing ones, the most efficient way is to go to arcade. And the reason for this is because bases take more bombs in arcade to destroy, and also at the same time you reload your bombs. So you're not going to be in a situation where you're running out of bombs all the time. Instead, you can just reload them. And also, if you get shot down, you bring another bomber. So the best thing to do is bring along your P108B, which has easily the best bomb load out of the Italians. Don't bring the torpedoes, though. Bring the 7500s, which is equivalent to how much? What's that? 3,000 kilos, right? No. 3,500 kilos. So that's 3,500 kilos worth of bombs. This is in tons that you have to drop. So as long as you bring the P108, the P108s, and also the Z1007s, you can have a full 5-stacked lineup, which is what I would say to do if you're being serious about this, you know, when it comes to arcade. So just bring all of these and just hit the bases. That's it. It will take you a while. You won't lose any silver lines with these aircraft because you can see here the silver lines cost for these dying is incredibly small. So and also just as a caveat, the B-29 I was able to drop maybe about 12 tons in one arcade battle. So this may take you let's say 10 arcade battles just to be, you know, a little bit on the safe side. So 3 tons, so basically 1 or 2, maybe 3 bomb loads at a time when it comes to the P108s. And all you just have to do is just keep doing that over and over again. Yes, it's going to be dull. Yes, it's going to be a bit boring, but that's okay. It means that it gets done. And the other thing as well is if you're doing it in realistic with these aircraft, then you are going to be running into some quite dangerous beings. Because remember, they just brought back another vehicle which is very good at dealing with these planes, the Whirlwind P9. And the Whirlwind P9 will just devastate you before you can get anywhere near a target. The other thing as well is your bomb load is nothing compared to the ME-264, and you'll be matched up a lot with ME-264s, and I'm pretty sure they're faster than you and they can climb better than you as well. So it's much better just to go to arcade and bomb there, where you can have a bit of fun, see it as just an experience, just to enjoy the game and not worry about anything else. So yeah, as you can see, these decals are definitely not easy compared to what we've had before. I'd say these are probably the hardest decals we've had in about 6 months. So I'm definitely relishing the challenge. I'm very happy that we have something to strive towards again when it comes to decals. And I hope you guys are too. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Eel of Goats, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.